Hey everyone, this is Mike, and today I'm going to be talking about whether or not you should play Closers, if it's a game worth getting into, is it a dead game, and also if you're interested in playing it, where should you play it, because there are 4 different servers for you to choose from. So let's kind of go in order. Is it a dead game? Definitely not. There is not a huge community surrounding the game, and there might not be a whole lot of active people playing, but it's still big enough of a community for you to be able to find enough people to play with. Especially ever since they merged the European and the North American servers, that community has grown quite a bit because now everybody is on the same server. Of course, as I said, there are 4 different servers to choose from, that being the North American one, the Code Closers private server, the Japanese server, and then the Korean server. Now, if you were to make a choice in between any of them, I would say play on the Korean one if you want the latest releases. Now, you do have to know that there is no English translation anymore for the Korean server, so if you want to play on that one, then you will need to just play in Korean. If you want to play in English, then I would recommend you play on the North American server. Now, you might be like, well, I'm playing from Europe, won't North America be very laggy or ping heavy? Well, not necessarily. I play from Europe as well, but I don't really feel the lag at all. The gameplay in PvE at least is still incredibly snappy and smooth. It's only really when I get to use items and stuff like that that I feel a little bit of a delay. And then of course PvP is not the greatest, but it's never really been very good when it comes to like latency and stuff like that. So we already had that before, back when the European server was still a thing, but PvP has always just been a little bit of a lag fest, depending on your connection of course, but for PvE it's still very good, so it shouldn't really matter where you're from, just choose whichever server you find the most comfortable with. Do you want to play in Korea for the latest releases, but in Korean, or do you just want to play on the North American one so that you can have some English as well? Of course, you can also choose to play on one of the private servers, but those are not officially backed, so I personally would not play on those. Now, when it comes to the game itself, now that we know that there are still plenty of people playing it that you can team up with, is the game really for you? Well, Closers is a action combat game, 2D or 2.5D 3D side-scroller game that depends a little bit, that has a couple of different pieces of content. You of course have your dungeons, which actually feel a lot like Final Fantasy dungeons. If you followed my channel, you know I play a little Final Fantasy. So it's like you go in, you kill some monsters, a new section of the dungeon opens up, you kill those monsters. Then of course you get the next section again until you fight a mini boss at the end of the dungeon. And then when it comes to boss fights, it's just basically you versus a boss or you and some teammates versus a boss, and then you kill it that way. Pretty much all of the content in the game can be soloed. Of course, for the end game stuff, I would advise you to find some people to play with. Joining a crew, which is this game's guild, would be very beneficial for that, but of course you can always just queue up. Now, the queue function doesn't get used a whole lot, but you can always just shout in the chat and be like, well, does somebody want to come do this piece of content with me? And you'll most likely find some people that are willing to help you out, because I feel like this game, or at least this game's community, is very helpful towards newer players as well, especially since none of the content scales with you. So as soon as you've out-leveled something or out-geared something, those people will be able to clear that content very fast and carry newer players through it a lot faster as well. So the community is usually very helpful towards new players as well, which I think is a really great thing, because other people willing to help them out makes it so that the entry into the game is not as harsh, because if you have to solo everything from the beginning all the way up to what is currently endgame, you're not necessarily going to have a great time. So if you do decide to hop into the game, find some people that can help you out, to help you understand how to gear up and stuff like that as well, because there is a lot of stuff to do when it comes to gearing up in this game. Now, since it is a Korean MMO, you can also expect some grinding, of course. There are a bunch of different things that you can do to make your character stronger, all the way from just playing your character itself, but also from leveling up other characters, because each character has a teamwork bonus, which gets stronger the higher the level that character is. So there is going to be a benefit to leveling up each character individually, which is also why I have like all of my characters at 80 or above. So there is that grind, but it's still fun enough because all of the characters have a very unique playstyle, and it is still pretty fun to switch in between all of those depending on what I feel like playing. So that is something that you can do. Of course, at the moment there are 15 characters in the game, 17 if you play on the Korean server, because they just had 2 new characters released very close to each other. But when it comes to that content coming out on the North American server, we'll still have to wait a little bit longer, because at least until like for another half a year, they didn't really put any characters on the roadmap just yet. So we'll have to wait and see when those come out. Now, when it comes to the gameplay, I feel like the combat is the really strong suit of this game. If the combat wasn't as good as it was, I probably would have quit a long time ago. It's all about using damage reduction iframes to basically power through bosses' attacks, to try and evade them in the most efficient way possible, and then do as much damage as possible, of course, as well. Because it is a MMO, I do like to play efficient, and it is a lot of fun to learn your character that you are playing, knowing where all of your invulnerability frames are, or where your damage reduction skills are, so that you can just ignore the boss's attacks basically, and just keep doing damage without having to interrupt your DPS rotation. So it feels really good. The combat is definitely the best thing about this game ever. Yes, the grindiness can come in sometimes where you're like fighting a boss for the 20th time and you still didn't get that one drop of piece of gear that you needed or something like that, which can be kind of frustrating, but they do made it so that a lot of the content now drops materials that you can then use to craft the gear that you want if you got really unlucky with your drops and stuff like that. So I do think that is a very good thing, especially towards players that are not so happy to just grind their ass off for days, weeks straight just to get that one piece of gear. So eventually you'll always be able to craft it, so that's a pretty good thing. Now when it comes to pay to win, that is also always a discussion that you kind of have to talk about when it comes to a free-to-play game. And I have to say, on one hand, it is incredibly pay to win. On the other hand, it is totally unnecessary pay to win. The reason for that is you can totally do all of the content and get almost everything without having to pay a single penny. And it is because there is also a black market. Now, the black market is basically the players trading platform, I guess you could call it. And a lot of the people that put money into the game and do the gacha, because there is a gacha washing machine, and they get costumes for characters that they don't play. For example, they just put those costumes on the black market for some in-game gold, and then people that don't want to spend real money on the game can just use in-game gold to buy those premium costumes. So that is a way for you to get stuff that is technically paid for without having to pay for it, by just kind of relying on other people to whale on the game, so to speak, and then just buy it from them. Getting in-game gold is definitely not that hard. There is also a boss that is incredibly good to farm gold, so you can just do that and basically be completely free to play, but still have access to just about everything that you want that is normally buy to play. Now, as I said as well, this game is technically incredibly pay to win, and that mainly comes towards enhancing and stuff like that, because those people will just be able to buy the materials a lot faster. But eventually, if you're a free-to-play player, it's basically just going to take you longer to get there, rather than you needing to spend the money to get there. So it is more of a pay-to-skip rather than a pay-to-win, because all paying for this game is going to do for you is making stuff faster. And that is necessarily a bad thing, because sometimes some pieces of content can be really grindy and you can just burn yourself out on it. But on the other hand, if you just do it in a week, whereas normally it would take you a month, then you just all of a sudden have 3 weeks that you shouldn't necessarily play this game anymore because you have nothing to do. So that's kind of like the ups and downs of the pay to win side of this game. It is going to make stuff faster for you, but on the other hand, you won't have anything to do until the next piece of content comes out a lot faster. So there's that. But that's pretty much Closers. You have your 4 different servers you can play on. In my opinion, you really only have the North American one and the Korean one to choose from, because those are the 2 official servers. The other 2 are private servers. I'm not 100% sure about the Japanese one, but I'm pretty sure that is a private server as well. And then when it comes to playing the game, it plays incredibly well. Yes, the community is a little bit smaller, but there's still plenty of people online every single day to do all of the content with that you would want to play with teammates. But that's pretty much gonna be it for me. If you have any more questions regarding this game, whether or not you should play it, yes or no, feel free to ask them in the comments and I'll definitely get back to you. But that's going to be it for me. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.